What's up, card fighters? Archangel 7, and I'm gonna do a Royal Paladin Brave deck profile. So it's essentially like Altmile and the new support that he got in G-BT06. So yeah, the Brave mechanic is their new keyword, and it's active when you have 3 or less cards in your hand. So at first it sounds bad or like a crappy keyword or ability, but really it's not. So yeah, let's start. Here's our starter, Resurgent Knight Stias, and he has a Brave ability, so 3 or less cards in your hand, but you put them into Soul. You choose one of your rear guards, and it gets 5k and the ability to bounce back to your hand at the end of turn. So it's some pretty decent combos that you can pull with this guy, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that's the starter. Then obviously for Altmile, unfortunately I don't have any secret rare stamped or anything, so I just have this one. But his skills, GB2, during your turn all your units in the front row get 5,000 power. That's a really big deal right there, that 5,000 power, and it's practically active after your first stride. But then he has an on stride skill. During your turn, when you're in a stride, you can counterblast 1. Choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call them to separate rears, and then choose up to 2 units. Those units get 5,000. That is a good skill, but we don't really use it because I need the counterblast for other things. So, but that GB2 skill is good, you know, if you get to that point. So next is for Model Knight Orhan, and he's from G-BT06, and his skill is he has a Brave ability where all your units with Brave get 3,000 power. In the front row get 3,000 power, and then he also has a Counterblast Soul Blast 1. And when he's placed on Vanguard, you can pay the cost. If you do, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck and search for 1 card with the Brave ability and put it in your hand and shuffle your deck, obviously. So he's just backup. I'm not going to ride him at all. You could potentially put someone else here if you wanted to, but in this deck you just want to be on Altmile. So your second Vanguard, it's really up to you. I just went with him just because. I don't know, just because. But you can put practically anything here, and it'll do all right. Because this is who we want. So on to grade 2s. I run 4 Knight of Twin Sword, and his skill is when he's boosted. You counterblast 1 and search your deck for a grade 2, not named him, so you can't search for himself, and you call it to rear. So he's an attack extender, and he's really good, really good. You definitely need 4 of him. I used to only play him at 3, but now, like for this deck, definitely 4 of. Next one's a new card from G-BT06. And that is Counteroffensive Knight Suleiman, and he's extremely good. This guy, I didn't like the Brave mechanics, and some of the Brave cards, like on paper they look pretty bad, but when you play them they're like really, really good. And this guy, Brave, if you have Altmile Vanguard, he gets 3,000 power. That's permanent too. So as long as you have Altmile, you have 3 or less cards in your hand. He's 12k base. Then he has a counterblast. Choose a card from your hand and discard it. When he attacks a Vanguard, and you have a Vanguard with Altmile in its card name, you can search your deck for a grade 2 not named him, so same restriction as Twin Sword, and call it to rear. That unit gets 2,000 power. So that's really good. These two are kind of like complementary. You know, he can attack, call him. He can attack, call another him, and so forth and so on. So these two go hand in hand. They're really good. It lets the deck attack a lot, and you can get some really good numbers too, since he can be 12k, and the unit you call gets 2k as well. So 4 of this guy, really good. Next is 2 Knight of Fragment. He's, during your turn, if you have 2 or more grade 2 rear guards, he gets 2,000 power, and when he attacks, when his attack hits a Vanguard, you soul charge 1 and counter charge 1 as well. So he's really good because the deck is counterblast heavy. He's also a good end unit, and what I mean by end unit is after you do your attack extensions, if you get to a point where you can't extend anymore, he's going to be the best unit to call for the last call. So if you don't have any more counterblast and you attack with Suleiman, you attack with Suleiman, you use the last counterblast you have, instead of going into a Twin Sword, you go into him. That way he's 13 base by himself. If he hits, you'll unflip, for next turn. So he's really good. And I only play 2 of them though, because the last grade 2 that I run is just 1 Benazil. And the reason I run him is, well, for one, he counterblasts 1, soul blasts 1. When he's placed, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Altmile in his card name, search your deck for a grade 2 not named himself, call it, and it gets 2k. So the reason I play this guy is if you're playing a match where, let's say, your field's getting retired, you're going against Kagero or Narukami or something, and your field's constantly getting retired, he's a good way to build up a field and more offense, in those clutch situations. He's also a pretty good end unit to call as well. If you have 2 counterblast and you attack with, let's say, Twin Sword or Suleiman, you can call him, and you can counterblast 1 and use his skill to call a unit behind him as a booster. So he's he works good in there. So that's the grade 2 lineup. Grade 1s is 4 of the unflipped perfect guards because it's counterblast heavy. And then 4 Laurel Knight Sisylas, and this little guy, when he's placed on rear, you just reveal a grade 3, search for Altmile, and then discard a card, and he pays for stride by himself. So while he's in your hand, he's actually considered grade 3 in your hand when for stride. So obviously we want him because I want to try to get Altmile, make sure I have him because the whole deck is based around him. So this is one way to get him, and it also helps you stride, which I'm gonna do in this deck. Can't say a lot because yeah, you'll see why. But next is a new card from G-BT06, Headwind Knight Salem. This card is absolutely amazing. For one, it has a brave ability similar to Suleiman, where if you have an Altmile Vanguard, he gets +3, so he's 10k, and in deck, if you have an Altmile Vanguard, he gets grade +1, so he becomes a grade 2. So any of your any of your call units can call him to the field. So any one of these guys that calls a grade 2 can call this grade 1 from the deck. So yeah, that's beast. That's beast. This guy is is a must. Even if, I mean, you know, you don't even have to, like, you know, as long as you're playing Altmile like this guy, you know, you probably want to have him in there. He's really good. The next grade 2 slot goes to Battle Song Angel. This slot's open for pretty much whatever you want. I just have him here just kind of for a little bit of field consistency, going against, let's say, Kagero, Narukami, or anything like that. Those control builds, this kind of helps a lot, especially if you're running low on resources and you just don't really have any way to do anything. If you draw into this, then you're set. You know, this stays on the field. You draw into him, you call him here, and yeah, your opponent's gonna fill it. So, but you can put anything here. Yeah, whatever. Lian, Power Charge is a new card. Just whatever you want in here. So those are the grade 1s. Now triggers is for Belinus, who when you have a Vanguard with Altmile and it attacks, you can put this guy in a soul, give your Vanguard 5k and draw a card. So that's yeah, he's good. He's a good card. And then those two little guys. So 6 crit, then 6 stand, and stand. This one, you place it on rear. You give 2 units 3,000 power, and it returns back to the deck. So that's mad good. And then this guy, if you're brave and you play him at the end of turn, you shuffle him back into your deck and you draw a card. So just a nice way to keep recycling stands, because stands is life in this deck. It's life. And then obviously for field triggers, I use Maiden Elaine because she's tight. I like her. She's my favorite. And she enables me to 6 damage heal, like more than any of the other ones. So I run her. On to stride units. To Saint Blow. His skill, you flip a copy of him face up, so Persona flip. He gets 3,000 for all your rear guards, for each one of your rear guards, so a total of 15,000. And then if you have 2 or more rear guards, he's gonna get an extra a crit as well. So he's still a good finisher. There's no complaints about Saint Blow. Only complaint that I could think of is that I don't use him. So yeah, because the other strides will end my opponent before this is even necessary. Most of the time, 99% of the time. But for Aero Divine Knight Altmile, his skill is when you stride into him, you flip a copy face up. All your units in the front row get 3,000 power. Then if you're GB2, I mean if you have 2 or more face-up cards of your G-Zone, so GB3 really, you search for a grade 2 and you call it, it gets 5,000 power. So good call unit. He gives the power up, and he also gives a boost to the front row of 3,000 power, which is really good. It's really good in this deck. And then last but certainly not least is 2 Transcending the Heavens Altmile. This card is what's going to finish your opponent, usually on the second stride. Stride him, and then him, and they're going to die. But his skill is an act. Once per turn, you can counterblast 1, choose a face down card from your G-Zone, turn it face up. If you have a heart with Altmile, to end of turn, this unit gets, so when he attacks the Vanguard, search your deck for a grade 2, call it, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets 5,000 power to the end of turn. And during your turn, all of your units in the front row get 2,000 power for each card named Royal Divine Knight Altmile in your G zone. So this guy really strong, and I'll show you why your opponent won't live long enough to tell the tale. Because let's see. So you have Altmile Vanguard, and so first stride will always be this guy. Whoops. This guy. And you'll turn a copy of him face up, right? So the first turn, all your units are getting 3,000 in the front row. We'll say it looks something like this. That and that. Let's get onto the board. So this is face up. Okay. So now all these are getting 3K. And let's say Brave is active. We'll do it like this. Let's say Brave is active. So right now as it stands, this is your first stride turn, granted. So this is 12 right here, plus the 7, so 19. This is 10k guard. These two, with their Brave ability, they are, this is a 22k column, plus the 3 is 25. That's 15k guard, right? So, you know, however you want to set it up. Let's say we also give a power boost here. Okay, so now he goes from he gets plus 6, so he's 15. 3 from here, 3 from his skill, then 3 from here. He's 19 by himself, right? Then we give the other one here. What's that? So you get essentially 10k guard, right? Then you could go into this one, which was 21, so 15k guard, superior call another one of him from the deck, and then you can, let's see, you could if they don't get a trigger or anything like that, you could poke with 15 for 5 to call a unit or whatever, or you could just do full column for numbers, and then Altmile. There's just a lot of stuff you could do. You could just go back and forth with pokes, but so that's first stride, right? Then second stride, when you go into this guy, then it gets bad, because you have 2 of these already face up in the G zone. So when you activate a skill, you counterblast 1, and you turn copy face up. You have 3 face up, so your front row is getting 6,000 power. That's a lot, right? So 6,000, that takes this guy, turns him into an 18 by himself, 15 by himself, so really big numbers. So along with the attack extensions that you have like 18, then you have like huge number, call another one, then you have like let's see, another pretty big number, and you'll call, let's say from deck, you could call him out, right? And then turn, you use that skill, and you'd call another one from deck, and he'd get plus 11,000 because he gets plus 6 for the Aerial Divine Knight Altmiles, and he gets plus 5 from this Altmile skill. So he's plus 11, right? And the chances of you getting a stand trigger are pretty high, so you know, you might just get a stand trigger and you'll put the power there. So then you'll attack with him again, then you can attack with him, activate his skill, call. Depending on whether you have counterblast or not, you could either call another one of him, or you'll call your end unit, and your end unit will be let's see, this column 11, 6, 17, 10, yeah, 27 right here. So very big numbers, a lot of attacks, and it's very consistent as well, because the nice thing about this deck is you can go from 0 field to having a field, you know, like so. For example, let's say we're just on him, and I don't have a field. My field's nothing. I can essentially drop that, and drop that, and that's all you need to start, you know, doing things, because he's gonna attack and call your twin sword. Your twin sword is gonna attack, possibly call another one depending on the situation. Then he can attack again. He can call another twin sword. You can attempt for the stand trigger, which will stand him, and then go back in, and once again, depending on situations, you have this call unit, you have this call unit, which this call unit leads into this unit. So there's a lot of combos with this deck that makes it really, really strong. It's really dangerous. They, like I said, usually once you strike this once, they'll probably lose. If not, then, you know, it's whatever. But yeah, so it is really good. As for the Brave mechanic, you don't have to force Brave. You don't really have to try to go for it and drop your hand or make yourself vulnerable. You can just let it happen. It will happen naturally. That's for sure. It's gonna happen naturally, so you don't have to force Brave, which is what, you know, a lot of people I know were looking at. I was like, oh, this mechanic is bad. You gotta practically have no hand and stuff. Like, you don't have to force it. It'll eventually get there, you know. So but yeah, that is the deck. Oh yeah, also this guy, the starter. The starter is good because you could essentially call this guy just for column purposes. Say you're trying to set up a twin sword or something. You know, you can call him, but, you know, and give him the power, and then at the end of the turn, he bounces to your hand, which will be stride fodder for the next turn or guard for the next turn. If you weren't going to extend a lot of attacks, you could even use it on Benazol, which once he, you know, when you play him again, he'll come back and, you know, either make a column or just he'll either, you know, call one, or he can make a column with himself. However, but, you know, you could bounce him. So this little guy, he has some pretty good combo usage. I don't use Milius because just it's the deck will the field will build itself in the middle of combat, which is what's really nice. So the field is gonna build itself, as I showed you. As long as you have like a Suleiman and at least one grade 1, you're gonna build your field from nothing. So you don't really need Milius. It's just gonna give you, it's just gonna take up a counter blast for no reason. Even before G-BT06, I still rarely would use Milius. He'd just be sitting in the back row. So I like this guy a lot better, and he also gives a nice power boost. So if you take this 22k column and you give them 5, they're 27. If you add on Altmile, they're 30. You know, and if you add on this Altmile, they're even stronger. So yeah, he makes it really good. So it's a really powerful deck. If you're a Royal Paladin player and you haven't tried it because you might think that, you know, this Brave mechanic sucks or anything like that, just, you know, give it a try. It's really, really strong. Most likely you'll destroy just about everyone you play. Yeah, because you're gonna destroy their hand with the amount of attacks you do. You know, their field's gonna get destroyed because they're gonna have to intercept, and yeah, it's really good. So, but anyway, that is the deck profile. Tell me what you think about it. It's a really good deck. You guys should really try playing it. But until next time.